Welcome everyone. This is the Appian 19.2 product announcement webinar. Again, my name is Malcolm Ross, VP of Product for Appian. I'll be walking through today's content. To begin with though, before we jump into the details of Appian 19.2, I'd like to first put out a big thank you for those who happened to attend Appian World at the San Diego Bayfront Hotel. It was a fantastic event just about 2 weeks ago. We had over 1,500 attendees and of course a great time interacting with each other, networking with fellow peers of the Appian platform, meeting our solution partners, as well as, hearing interesting thoughts from Andre Agassi and our keynote speakers from other customers as well. So if you did not have a chance to join us at Appian World, of course, all the content will be covered today as far as what's the new product features announced, but there's always another chance, and it's sooner rather than later. We have a save the date out now for Appian World 2020 on March 8th to 11th. And of course, this is going to be at the Diplomat Beach Resort in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So really excited to be seeing you there if you didn't make it at San Diego. And of course, if you were at San Diego, hope to see you again in Fort Lauderdale. And of course, as well, if you go to appianworld.com, we also have an interesting call for speakers. So we had a lot of demand this year for people wanting to share their stories and insights on using the Appian platform. So we opened up this early. If you go to appianworld.com, click on that call for speakers. If you'd like to share your story of the Appian platform, feel free to click that. We'll try to get you on the schedule for Appian World 2020 and see you on March 8th to 11th in Fort Lauderdale. With that, of course, let's talk a little bit more about Appian 19.2. And of course, Appian 19.2 is the second release of the year, starting with 19.1 released in mid-February. And of course, 19.3 will follow up in August and 19.4 in November. So of course, 19.2 is going to be scheduled for May 31st, 2019. That's two days from today, just this Friday. And of course, today we're going to cover all the new user, low-code developer, administrator, developer, intelligent contact center, and community app market updates associated with the 19.2 release. So we have a lot of content. And of course, if you didn't see the announcement before, we have extended this webinar from 60 minutes to 90 minutes to make sure we have a lot of time to cover that content, as well as all your questions at the end of the webinar. So again, feel free to submit those during the course of the webinar. And let's jump right into Appian 19.2 with the end user feature capabilities. And we're going to kick off today starting talking a little bit about mobile. So our self-service mobile brand and builds experience has been updated to allow you to do custom branding of your mobile applications directly from the community. This provides full branding management and no support that gets needed anymore. So now you can create branded mobile versions of the Appian mobile application via the branding site community. The site offers a self-service guided workflow for creating custom version of Appian mobile app for your organization. And it checks the submitted configuration, reduces the time it takes to get a branded build, and eliminates the need to manually provide assets to support engineers. You can also download past custom mobile apps. So as you use this tool, you'll remember all the previous versions as well from the site and update your custom mobile app configurations at any time. More details can be found in our documentation, which will be released on Friday. So feel free to check that out when it becomes available. In addition to our Appian mobile experience, we've also added mobile link redirection. This will automatically prompt a user to download the mobile app if it's not already installed. So sometimes our customers want to drive a mobile first experience. We don't want them using maybe the native web capabilities of Appian as well for mobile. So we want them to really be aware that there is this mobile application. Now, of course, well, you might not choose to use the Appian default mobile application. You use a custom branded mobile app, having used the previous feature to brand it yourself. Well, no worries. Of course, inside the admin console, you'll find a new configuration. Right there's a checkbox. If you do or do not want them to automatically prompt to download the mobile application, just go to the admin console, check or uncheck that box. When that box is checked, if we detect that they do not have the mobile application installed when they follow a link to the Appian environment, it will automatically prompt them to these URLs. Now, of course, by default, you'll see these loaded with the Appian standard mobile application for both iOS and Android. But if you have a custom mobile application, you want to forward that to a specific App Store listing, you can just go ahead and update the URL right there for your specific listing, and it'll prompt them to download your specific mobile application as well. So great feature to make sure that that is the experience you want for your mobile users. Now, going on for iOS specifically, we've updated our linking behavior to support universal links. So universal links are a specific feature of Appian or Apple iOS that allows you to directly and deep link into an application rather than going to a web browser. So if you're familiar with linking behavior today in 19.1 or earlier, when a user links to the to an Appian-specific link from a web URL on a mobile device, it's going to prompt them first to the browser, and then the browser will say, do you want to open up the mobile application? So now, with using universal links, it will seamlessly link directly into the native mobile application. So this is a great experience if you're sending users tasks or record links or report links. It will, right from the email, open directly into the mobile application. Really nice experience. Now, this does only apply to iOS. And it also is only available for Appian Cloud customers that use the Appian for Mobile Devices iOS application from the App Store. So important caveat there to make sure that if you want to take advantage of this feature, that you are sent for Appian Cloud. The reason for that is it requires us to register the specific domain of your environment with Apple to make sure that that trusted URL universal link behavior will work properly. So we can't do this for on-premise environments because we don't know the URL for your server, but for Appian Cloud environments, we can deliver this experience. Also in mobile, we've also improved the clickability of grid cells for mobile. So this is an improved user navigation with mobile grids. The entire cell on a read-only grid is now clickable when the contents contain a single link. Important caveat there that if you have multiple links, still the individual links will be clickable, but when there's a single link, we'll make the entire cell clickable. So if you have a small amount of content, like a small icon, just makes it easier for the mobile user to use their finger to actually click on that link to navigate to the sub-content. In addition, we've added filter records by date range. So inside the record type configuration, you'll notice a new configuration allowing to filter by date range for user filters. As you can see the behavior here, when that's turned on, the user will be able to say select a range of dates and then filter all the contents of that record inside of that range. Now, if you'd like to use this feature in a more programmatic fashion, there's also a new function parameter called abang record filter date range function. This is used to query the specific records and filter those records to that date range parameter with a start or end date. In addition, we've also improved the user picker experience. This is a small enhancement, but an important one for those of us with multiple names like Anthony Michael Hill, for example. In this example on the right-hand side, I'm typing the word Michael in here. There's a Michael Cooper, but then Anthony Michael Hill has Michael in the middle of his first name. So he actually has two first names there. Some people have that. So to make sure that we properly filter to those people, we've improved the user filter to make sure we identify the first or last names, and there's multiple names inside of there. So a nice little enhancement for those of us who have multiple names in our name. So also inside the end user experience, we've added custom accessibility text. This is for screen readers for Section 508 compliance, the US government, or Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG. And this is a new parameter on most visual components called accessibility text. So if you're using the expression format, it will be accessibility text is the name of the parameter. If you're using the interface designer, right there inside the drop-down pane or the right-hand pane, you'll see this new option called accessibility text. That accessibility text allows you to prompt that text, so if they can't actually visually see the content, like here, Billboard of Florida State University campus, I can actually then have the screen reader read what's in that billboard descriptor for me. So again, this is available for now most visual components. So you can add that visual accessibility text on any of the visual elements of your entire interface. Also, speaking of the billboard, there's a new version of the billboard layout. This enhances it with a number of overlay configurations. The first of which is the full configuration. So before we had the bar and column and none configuration, allowed you to create a nice overlay on top of a billboard. This gives a either light or dark shading on top of that billboard, so it can give kind of like a nice double effect image where I have content on top of a background image. It really has a nice look to it. And of course, to make sure you can position it just the right way, there's also a new position configuration. As you can see, I'm going to choose that middle configuration to position the content in the middle alignment. So this gives a nice look and feel, short, middle, full overlay on top of that. Allows us to use that background image to add more kind of richness to the overall interface while still making maximum use of that space for content, meaningful content for the end user. Also, a nice feature has been added to line charts, the first of which allows you to handle thousands of data points without scrolling. So now you can have really large data points inside of your line charts and be able to have that data density that you want to show lots of detail inside the overall line chart flow. Next, in the line charts, you'll notice that there's a new zoom in capabilities. So using the mouse cursor, I can drag and drop a specific section and it'll automatically zoom into that section. I can do it again and zoom in again to that section just like this. And finally, for the x-axis, the bottom axis there, it will automatically format the x-axis for the user's time zone. So making that line chart based on date and time, it will automatically adjust the appropriate time zone for which that user is interacting with to make sure it makes sense for their specific usability. Now, of course, for these features, you don't need to do anything from the design experience. These are features that are automatically inherent with a line chart component. So all your line charts will automatically be enhanced with these capabilities of the zoom in and auto formatting capabilities. We've also updated email styling. So I know this has been a common request for many years. We've finally gotten to. Now we can allow our customers to modify the email branding configurations. So inside the admin console, if you go to the branding configuration, you'll see there's a new area for email branding. Inside the email branding, you can modify the color of the email header here, as well as the accent color of that button control. And finally, you can also add an optional logo, so it's going to be branded with your specific corporation as far as email notifications. You also see a nice new format of the email, which is going to give a much more consistent look and feel from the email, what they get from the actual Appian user experience as well. And this is going to apply for things like task assignments, task escalations, and news notifications when they receive those notifications from the Appian system. And then finally, for end-user capabilities, a very popular and demanded one, which is auto-refreshing interfaces. Auto-refreshing interfaces allow a designer to create an interface that's going to auto-refresh specific variables at an interval time. That time can be between 30 seconds and 60 minutes. Now here, you see I'm refreshing quite rapidly because I use Camtasia to advance the video, so I didn't have to wait 30 seconds for the refresh, but we're going to see that live in a demonstration as well in a second. So this is first, to take advantage of this feature, you need to add those design capabilities into your backend interfaces where appropriate, and it is isolated to refresh specific target variables. So you don't have to refresh the entire content. I can say these specific data points I want to set to refresh. But to see this in action, let's first talk about the design time experience in our low-code developer section. So very first thing to get that auto refresh is the introduction of a new local variables declaration. The new local variables declaration is going to be replacing the load and width variables. So if you're a common sales slinger, you've built a lot of interfaces, you're probably very familiar with load and width. Load and width is the loading of variables on initial page load, and width is the refreshing of those and on-page content. Now, you no longer need to use load and width, but you also have full backwards compatibility with load and width. So you do not need to race and try to replace all your load and width statements with local variable statements. You can just stick with the ones load and width where it makes sense. Don't worry about refactoring that. And we recommend for future interfaces or designs, start using the abang local variables function to define local variables inside of an interface. So abang local variables works exactly the same way as load and width. You define your array of variables, and then the final parameter is the expression. And also, there's some nice features with it. So there's no more requerying of data from each component the user interacts with. Appian will automatically detect when relevant variables change and update the data automatically. Very simple configuration now, rather than having to remember when to use load or width. Only local variables created using the abang local variables function will get this behavior automatically. So you do want to think about that as you convert over, that there is a lot of benefits to using local variables instead of load or width. Encourage you to think about the proper application of that. But of course, one of the most exciting features of local variables is the auto refresh control. So in order to use the auto refresh control, you can see my example function on the right hand side here, where I define local variables. I define a specific local variable called order info, and then when I define the value, I'm going to use the refresh variable function. The refresh variable function allows me to define the value first. So here I'm going to call a rule that's going to do the query, and then the parameters. The parameters, as said, are first refresh always. When refresh always is true, the value of this local variable will be refreshed after each user interaction and each interval refresh. Because the variables continuously refresh, you cannot update its value by saving into it. So it's important consideration that it will always kind of refresh the variable. The refresh interval configuration is how often the variable gets refreshed in minutes. When null, the variable will not be refreshed at all on an interval. Because the variable is periodically refreshed, you can update its value by saving into. And of course, valid values are 0.5, so 30 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 30, or 60 is their intervals that you can define for that specific parameter. Next is the refresh on referenced var change. So refresh on referenced var change, when true, the value of this local variable will be refreshed each time the value of any variable it references when the variable parameter is updated. So that means if it detects that there's something referenced, then it will automatically be updated. To refresh the local variable when another variable is not used within the value, changes auto refresh on true, default is true. So you can set that to false if you want to maybe not have something refreshed, even though it's a dependency. And then finally, refresh on var change. So refresh on var change refreshes the valuable local variables each time any specific variable changes. So the parameter for this one is an array of inputs. It's going to be, an array of local variables. So you define when these variables change, I want to refresh this one as well. But that might be confusing. So this is what I encourage you. As you all go in and hop into Appian 19.2, this is the first thing I want you to do when running with the refresh variables. This is what I would call the hello world example of auto refresh. Let's go ahead and create a new interface. So simple auto refresh. Hit create. So again, this is the best way to kind of dig into the auto refresh area of the environment. So I'm going to go to expression mode here and go ahead and use that local variables function. And now I have that array of local variables I'm going to define. So the first one I'm going to say is going to be random. And now I'm going to define the refresh variable. So I'm going to type in the word refresh variables. You can see the first thing I want to do is define the value. The value, I'm just going to use the random function just like this. Now after the value, I want to set the, say, refresh interval. Refresh interval is going to take in that value of 0.5 through 60. So I don't want to sit here and wait for 60 minutes to actually refresh. So I'm just going to do the 0.5. So there we have one. And now I'm going to define another one, random 2. And this one, again, I'm going to set a refresh. So refresh variable. Value is also going to be a random, just like this. But for this one, I want to refresh on var change. So again, I'm not going to refresh an interval, but I'm going to refresh this one when another variable changes. That other variable is going to be the random variable. So when it detects that local random has changed, I want to automatically refresh random 2. So there we go. I have my simple environment. I'm going to define a text field here. And then we'll have the label, we'll say is random 1. Value is local bang random, just like this. And to make it simple, I'm just going to go ahead and copy that, put this in some array brackets. And then we're going to call this one random 2 and make that 2, just like this. And there we go. And let's see, I have my mistake somewhere. I need to put a comma in between. There we go. So I'll clean it up, make it nice. So there it is. So this is your hello world version of auto refresh. Kind of understand the behavior of how these work. So we'll wait here 30 seconds. I'm going to fill up some time by just talking. And you see that 0.53 in random 1, 0.48 on random 2. When that triggers the auto refresh, we're going to see random 1 auto refresh, which will then have a cascading effect because of that on var change to random 2. There it is. 0.65, that cascade down to then 0.75. So great starting example of kind of how you want to think about how refreshing variables is going to work and the cascading effect that those can have across other data points. The nice thing is, though, I can come in here as well and say local random 3, and random 3 I just want to define as random, just like this. And I'll go ahead and say define this one in similar fashion. And let's do this one, random 3, just like this. And I need to put a comma again. Can't forget those commas. So there you go, random 3 has run, but now you're going to see random 1 and random 2 reevaluate, but random 3 will remain static. And this is a great example of how you can get that really fine-grained isolation. So if you want to do some performance tuning of your specific environments, you can really kind of target which variables you want refresh and which ones you do not. And of course, by not refreshing certain variables, you can get better performance. So there we saw another refresh, 0.25, 0.466, but that random 3 stayed the same. And of course, yes, you can build bad interfaces using this tool. So you always want to be cognizant of the performance monitoring capabilities to see the exact rendering performance of your overall environment, identify poorly performing areas to make sure that you're not auto-refreshing, say, lots of queries across a backend system. They're going to take a long time. You always have that detailed breakdown of exactly the performance of that specific chart, just like this. So let's take one more look at a more comprehensive example. And part of Appian's product strategy team had developed a comprehensive refresh of the case management framework. So you can download this yourself from the Appian App Market, or of course, if you just spin up an Appian free trial, you can also see all the new UIs. So this is the new order dashboard we have with the Appian case management framework. And what I did is I went ahead and took this one and said, wouldn't it be cool if I made this one auto refresh? So something more realistic of what we'd actually expect. So here I came in, actually removed all the load variables and replaced them with local variables, and then added on the targeted ones like this order info. Say I don't want to refresh industry filter, but order info, yes, I want to refresh that. That's going to call this other query rule. That query rule is going to return all my information. And of course, the refresh interval I set to every half second. So if I go ahead and kick off a bunch more, so let's go ahead to my tempo environment on another tab here. I'll go to my actions. We can see how this is going to behave in reality. I'll generate some random orders. So again, this is all just part of the sample application, which is the Appian case management framework. It kind of demonstrates a lot of the features of the Appian product. That kicked off 10 more orders. So I should then see those orders represented here. Again, I'll refresh it every half second inside the environment. So let's see here. It's going to refresh. So while that's going, just to answer a few other questions, like one of the things I had to debug here was I had that local variables defined in order info, but I actually had some load variables and width variables maybe nested inside of that. So I had to get in there and actually refresh or change the configurations of some sub elements as well. So if I go back inside of here, you can see actually that just ticked up 1. So I had one new order and went up by 987. But here you can see I also had to replace inside my expression my load variables with. So typically you do want to make sure if I'm using local variables and there's cascading kind of or nested load variables, you probably do want to switch those out also to local variables as well, because the loads won't necessarily take advantage of the refresh capabilities that are part of the local variable declaration. So really look forward. Again, feel free to play, check it out. Start with that random example. I encourage you to kind of understand the relationships between variables. And then, of course, dig into some of your existing interfaces and see how you can add refresh capabilities to the overall interface. It's really a nice interactive tool as well. So let's jump back into the PowerPoint. Next, in application management, we can quickly clear patch contents from the main application now. So instead of having to open up each individual patch, you have a nice little trash can icon right there. Simply click on that. It'll give me a confirmation window to clear out all the patch contents in one action. A nice little productivity feature for app management. And also for downloading inspection results. When I go through an import or export, I have that inspection, and now I have a quick link to actually see the inspection results right there while I'm inside that inspection window. So a nice easy access to the full log. Now back inside Interface Designer, we've also added easier rich text editing inside the Interface Designer. This is not to be confused with rich text editing for end users. This is the design time experience for building rich text. If you've done it before, you might have been familiar with those nested kind of styling functions I had to apply. Now you don't need to have all those nested styling functions. This automatically builds it for you in a rich text designer. So I can highlight text, I can make it bold, change the size, highlight specific text here, change the color, just like this, without ever having to break into the expression language. Now if I switch to expression language, you'll see that this actually built that whole expression language for me, but this masks it in a nice, intuitive, rich text design time experience. In addition, you saw already in that rich text designer a new color picker. So the new color picker is available in areas like the rich text designer, the app designer, and admin console configuration for branding, as well as a site's branding configuration. This is just going to be a new color picker instead of using the operating system default color picker. It gives you a more consistent color picker regardless of the browser. And of course has all the color controls as you expect before to do very fine-grained color control, or just input a hexadecimal color code to get that a very exact color that you're looking for. We also can monitor real-time record performance. So in 19.1, Appian introduced a new monitoring capability to monitor process activity and process model metrics. In 19.2, we've expanded this to also monitor record response times. This applies to both lists and views. So if you have customers complaining that a record list view is taking a long amount of time, click on that monitoring window, that monitoring tab. You'll see both list views and record views broken down here. As I click on individual renderings of it, I get a detailed performance of exactly why it's taking so long. So yes, you can still design bad interfaces, but we're going to give you very granular detail of why that's not performing to the user's expectations. Not only that, is Appian's record response time monitoring is also going to take advantage of the DevOps infrastructure. So while you're inside the development environment, I can actually do a compare or see the performance in my production or test environment as well. So I can say, while I'm in development, I want to see the performance of my production users and get a breakdown of exactly where the bottlenecks are occurring inside my UI designs so I can build better UIs for my end users. In addition, we also taking advantage of the DevOps infrastructure capabilities to compare application objects across environments. So inside of here, when I choose to say compare apps, I can use this to build patches that compare two environments together. This is going to really facilitate kind of the streamlining of the patch creation, understanding what maybe even multiple developers are working on as well. So in the first step here, as this goes through, I select the environment. I can have multiple dev environments or dev test prod environments set up. It's going to give me a comparison between the two environments. I can then review the patch, inspect the patch to build it, and then export the patch just like this. Now going back, let's go ahead and kick this off again, my little recorded video. I can select the target environment right here. Now when I compare objects inside of here, it's going to give me a comparison of this application, but importantly, I can also do a side-by-side change. So I can actually see side-by-side, in this case, a record view of what it looks like on this environment versus the other environment. So you get that granular comparison of the individual objects between environments before I actually move that to a patch. So I can make sure I target the right environments in that patch. I can also do the missing precedents to understand what's missing in the possible import of that patch on the target system, and then finally export that patch just like this. So really streamlining the overall patch process. I can also compare versions of more objects. So not only we added connected systems and process reports in comparing versions, and this applies to both the version compare on a single environment as well as the cross-app compare apps that I just showed, but as well, we also enhanced the process model comparison to show a visual process diagram. So now I can see in my compare versions, my latest published version 1.0, I can see visually right there exactly what these process models look like and how they're different between the two design paradigms. So great feature, again, to get more detail of exactly what's changing and who changed what inside the overall the development experience. Next, we have a series of kind of enhancements on the zero-code query editor. So if you saw the 19.1 release, we introduced a brand new query editor tool, which was allow you to have a query capabilities directly inside of the expression builder as well as the interface designer. Now this query editor has been enhanced with a number of core features, the first of which is query aggregations. So now I can do groupings. I can say, well, I want to group by a specific user, a date, a month, just like this. If you get very granular groupings as well to aggregate to maybe feed that to a pie chart or bar chart as I see fit. In addition to aggregations, we also like to easily query into nested field selections. So here I have maybe the shipping address, shipping.city, which is a nested CDT, and very quickly I can get into that CDT to query that additional information. And finally, as well, you can easily open up the query editor from any existing query object. So here I had a 18.3 query. I can do control click or command click on a Mac and easily open it up, and it'll open up that query editing tool right inside the query design tool. So you can go back and edit all your existing queries in the visual format as well. Let's take a look at this, though, in action. I'm going to say, go to my examples. And first, let's create a new query. So we're going to say, query this. if I can spell the word this correctly. There we go. So here's my blank expression editor. As a reminder, the query editor is right there. You also have access to that via the Command Option V or Control Alt V on a Windows computer. Go ahead and select that query editor. It's going to prompt me for the specific data store entity constant I would need to select from. So I'm going to choose my order data store entity. Again, this is part of the sample application, the CMF. Hit continue. It's going to launch now the visual query editor. So again, you really have full parity between the expression-based query editor and the visual one. And the reason for that is at any time, you could break into expressions. So I can use rule inputs or logic anytime I want to easily reference, say, dynamic values inside of here. But I can go back to the basic just like this as well. So I'm going to sort my orders by, say, the order date. I want to add some filters just like this if I so choose. And of course, if you didn't see this in 19.1, there's lots of great features, such as if I choose order date, I can very easily say get a date range. And it's going to prompt me for very common date ranges, like says I want orders for the past 9 months. So I don't need to know how to write that expression. It's going to actually build that expression for me. So really nice ways of filtering all that data. Down below, I'm just going to go ahead and remove all my individual elements. And let's first say group the data. So I'm going to apply a group data just like this, and I'm going to group that based on, let's say, the order date. Makes sense? So I'm going to see order dates, and right now it's grouping that by order date. But if I go ahead and say add another grouping just like this, you see as I add additional order dates, I can add additional groupings. There it is, add it again, year, month, individual order date. Let's go ahead and remove this. You know what I'd like is just the year and the month would be a logical grouping for me. And what I want to get is the total. So I can go ahead and add total just like this, and that's going to apply the sum. Now, of course, if I want to modify that, I can go ahead and modify that sum, average, min, max, count. But if I just go ahead and add more totals and just add another total like this, it's going to automatically iterate through those. So if I want to get the sum, average, min, and max orders just like this, I just keep hitting the total button. It'll automatically iterate through those elements. Hit test query, and there we go. I have all my orders were in April, unfortunately here, and of course the total sum here was $239,000, and that's my average as well. But let's go ahead and maybe let's change group by month, group by year, or I can do other types of group bys as well. Makes sense. So let's go ahead and check out another query here. Let's go ahead and hit remove all. I'll remove grouping, just like this. Instead of that grouping, I just want to see maybe all my orders, just like this. I want to get the order number. I want to get the total. But more importantly, I also want to get the customer information. So down below, that was in a nested CDT. So down here, I can drill into the nested CDT, grab the customer name. I can grab maybe also, say, their main contact or email, the contact name. And then down below, I can also say I want to get the shipping address, which is a nested CDT inside of that CDT. So you can have all those levels of nesting right there, as well as the state for which I want this shipped. Hit test query just like this. And there I have it. So I have my order number, the total for each order, and exactly which customer and the main contact for those and which state those orders are shipping to. Hit generate query. And there it is. I have my entire query done. So all those configurations done in a simple visual way. So really great tool. I'm going to encourage you to jump right into this one as well. It's one of the main features of 19.2. But there's a great complement to this as well. Of course, the query editor is also, as I mentioned before, inside the interface designer. So this makes it really intuitive to access an interface designer as well as to associate with local variables. Now, on top of that, we've also integrated the query editor to the grid designer. It's a brand new zero-code grid design capability. So in this, I have an intuitive zero-code experience for building those complex read-only grids inside the environment. With just a few clicks, you can drag in a grid from the palette, add data using the query editor, and watch as Appian configures the paging, sorting, automatically generates all the formatted columns for your data, all super intuitive and easy without having to write any code or get into the expression logic whatsoever. But let's not trust it. Let's actually see it and build a grid. So let's go ahead and build an interface just like this. Say grid this. H key is sticking a little bit. And so here we have a basic grid. The first thing I'm going to do is show some of these local variable declaration access to the query editor. So I'm going to go ahead and define that local variables function again, local one query, and just like this. And then I'm going to define my expression just like that. So it makes sense. But over here, I have in my design mode, I have my local variables. So you can see right there, I have an easy way of now navigating to my local variables. But right there, as I hover over, I can say, well, yeah, that local variable, I'd like to populate that from a query. So just like this, I can say, go ahead and get that order data store entity again, access that data source, hit continue, open up the query designer, hit generate query, and just like that, boom, I've populated that local variable with a query just like this. So very easy to kind of use the design mode now to actually define the contents of a local variable with a query just like this. Let's go ahead and wipe that out, go back to design mode, and now let's just use the grid mode instead. So down below, again, as a reminder, there's two grids in Appian. One is an editable grid, which is really a grid layout of laying out components themselves in a grid format. The other is the read-only grid, and this applies only to the read-only grid. So I'm going to drag and drop that read-only grid right here. Now I have the baseline grid. As you can see, for the grid design experience, I have a really intuitive flow here. So I'm going to first prompt me for the data. It'll auto do all the columns for me. I don't need to touch that at all. Then I can configure paging, sorting, layout, styling, selection, all the other configurations that treat that grid just the way I want. But let's go ahead and create that query just as we saw before. I want to get that order query just like we saw, order data store entity, hit continue. Now from here, I want to, again, format this by say order date. For this, I want to define those parameters as I had before, like I want the order number, I want the total amount of the order, just like this. Down below, I want to get that customer information. So I want to get the account owner would be great. So who's the exact sales rep on that order? I need to, of course, get the name of the customer. That's important. And then I'd love to also get the logo of the customer. So right here, there's the logo ID. And that looks good. So let's go ahead and hit test query to see if that looks like what I want. And there we go. So I have all my order numbers, totals, customer, account owner, name of the customer, and their logo as well. So hit generate query and boom, done. Grid is built. So I could just accept this as is, but of course the styling doesn't look too great. You know, I could add some links inside of here. I could style those account owners. And you can see everything's been nicely formatted for me. So I took away those dot notations. I can see customer account owner, customer name, using all the names of the fields themselves to give those column header labels. Let's go ahead and style this up a little bit more. Like that customer account owner, instead of seeing the user IDs, I'd love to maybe see their pictures. Let's go to display options. I have all my different options for displaying it. Just choose user image. And it's done. There's all my user images now for the individual account owners. I can hover over them as well to actually see the names. So there's Maria Lopez, and actually added the hover text as well inside of there. Now, same thing with the logos. You know, document IDs aren't very useful for seeing the customer logo ID. So let's go ahead and modify that column. I'll go back up to my read-only grid and go to my customer logo, go to my display options, and here's a little design paradigm or design trick to remember. When I click on document image, just to make sure that we're not going to blow up the grid by selecting maybe an invalid document image, we're going to insert a safe image inside of there. So there's always an extra step when you insert document images. I need to go into that logic here. I can either go in expression view or the designer view. And here we're going to insert that function, which is this example document image. That's just to make sure that we don't destroy the grid, that we'd give you an error. To fix that behavior, of course, what I want to do is grab that customer logo ID, give that a toDocument function, and then insert that customer logo ID just like this. Hit OK, and there we are. There's all my logos nicely styled. And of course, if I want to modify this a little bit more, like wouldn't it be great if I had the total amount be like a nice dollar with rich text? I can go inside of here. Of course, you know, I can break in those expression logic anytime. I can go inside of here and say, well, it would be great if I just render this as dollar. Hit OK, just like that. And there's my dollar capabilities. It's doing the notation just like this with the commas now. And of course, if I go to my display options, I can also go in to say, well, it'd be great if I maybe add some styled text here. So for the style text, I want to maybe make this a little bit richer configuration for this specific styling. So I'll go to my style text inside of here, and what's the link style I want to use? So maybe I want to use for my color, maybe I want to use the accent color. I want to make this medium size, and I want to make this strong, just like this. So I'm going to bring forward that order mount just like this. So really easy now to modify all the styling of my grid. And just like that, I have a really great grid. Of course, I go through the same pattern, add links here, but you get the idea. Everything now is much more intuitive to do in a kind of a no-code, zero-code design experience for grid design and query design. Go ahead and save that. I like this one. And go back to the PowerPoint. So in addition to our interface design capabilities, we've also added new report-centric templates. So this is really inspiration for your reporting interfaces. When you go into Interface Designer, you're going to notice a Patterns tab right here. Under the Patterns tab, you'll see 3 new report patterns: a year-over-year report, a trend-over-time report, and a drill-down report. And again, those are there just to kind of give you design time inspiration. The idea is that we're going to give you a nice layout that makes sense for this type of report, and you can go there and populate your own specific data fields that make sense for your use cases rather than use those default reports. So creating interface design from a data type has also been improved. This is a feature we introduced in a previous version of Appian. We've improved this so now designers may choose between editable and read-only interfaces. So when you choose to create an interface from a data type, you can now choose to say, I want to make it editable, read-only, or both. And that will add a little rule input flag that can toggle between editable or not editable. So nice way enhancement for rapidly creating interfaces using data type discovery. Going on to integrations for a while, we now have a business object support added to Blue Prism. So this gives you more flexible session management with Blue Prism and our zero-code integration objects. So most importantly, we've heard that Blue Prism business objects are more flexible for session management than processes, and that using them always allows for close adherence to Blue Prism's best practices. So we enhance the Blue Prism connected system to give you that functionality. Now you can discover and configure available business objects and their data inputs, and this allows you to quickly and easily call them from Appian using no-code design experience. In addition, we've also added a skill for Blue Prism RPA. So this allows you to easily connect to Appian from Blue Prism and download Blue Prism from Digital Exchange. So you can see as I drag and drop this Blue Prism skill into a design experience, you can see a drop down of all the actions available to me to easily connect to the Appian system and send information back to Appian. Now, if you do not have Blue Prism and you're interested in adding robotic process automation to your overall Appian platform, we do offer Blue Prism bots as a la carte licensing on top of Appian. So the Blue Prism integration connectors come free with the Appian 19.2 release. But of course, the bots themselves are offered. Appian directly sells and supports these bots, or you can use our integration connectors to existing Blue Prism bots that you might have purchased from another source. In addition to Integration Designer, we also now need to generate sample expressions and integrations. This allows you to quickly create the right expression syntax to push data to other environments. So in this example, I'm trying to connect to Blue Prism. Now, since I know the data model that this bot is expecting, I can toggle over there to say define all in a single expression, hit generate expression, and it's going to generate that a sample expression to format the data properly to communicate with this robot in Blue Prism or other target environments. And speaking of other target environments, we also added a zero-code Salesforce integration. This is the new great way to integrate to Salesforce rather than using the Salesforce functions. So this allows you to integrate to Salesforce with zero code. And I'm really impressed with what our engineering team did here is that they made it possible to integrate to Salesforce without ever really referring to the Salesforce documentation. And this gives you CRUD on any object, create, read, update, delete, even those custom objects, as well as the ability to send custom SOQL or SOSL if you so choose, and handle authentication of per user credentials or service account credentials. So let's jump over and see some of these Salesforce integrations. I like it a lot. So here's my Salesforce connected system. As expected, I'm going to give it all my OAuth credential information. In this example, I have a username, password, OAuth configuration. Go ahead and test that configuration just like this. Test is successful. And I'll go ahead and use that in a new integration. Now, as I choose to use a new integration, I can define then the specific operation I want to perform, such as a SOQL query. I want to create a new object inside of it, the system, describe an object. Let's go ahead and choose create object, create DC object just like this. And I'm going to save this inside my Appian World 19 demo environment. There you go. So this is going to launch the integration designer. And again, you're never going to see me have to refer to the Salesforce API documentation. There's just hundreds and hundreds of documented APIs with Salesforce. This really simplifies the entire experience. I just choose which CRUD object I want to do, either CRUD it or search it. I can choose which object I want. So you can see that there's some custom objects here as well as standard objects in Salesforce. So you have a full listing of all your objects in that target Salesforce environment. So I'm going to choose a contact just like this. And I want to create a new contact. So it's going to automatically discover the data model for that contact information. So you can see it's querying Salesforce in my progress bar right here. And it's just a sandbox environment, so it's not the fastest. And of course, I have that option to define as a single expression. Here's that generate expression format if I so choose. So here's that generate example expression that I talked about before. So it's going to format that just like this. But I'm going to specify each input instead. And this is the really cool feature is if you're familiar with Salesforce, you can also not only just customize the data model, but you can also customize all the drop-down values. So for example, I want to have my name in here. And here's the salutations. So you can customize the stuff in Salesforce. Same thing with like my street address, 123 Main Street, just like this. And again, country codes, Allen Islands, all these drop downs, it automatically introspects your Salesforce environment to understand, like, for example, lead source. This is an area that is highly customized for each Salesforce implementation. We will do those cascading APIs to get all the information, get all the description of all the objects back to make sure I have all these specific campaigns available to me. So here I have a PPC Bing campaign. I'll go ahead and test this request and see if it creates that object. And there it goes. 1 second. See my progress bar going all the way over. See if Salesforce, again, sandbox environments are never as fast as the live production Salesforce environment, but this is just waiting for that query to come back from Salesforce. And this is how you also know it's a live demo, not a pre-recorded. There it is, finally, all right. So here's my contact ID that just created. That's the return value. It says, okay, I created that contact, here's the ID value for it. So if I want to do something like a SQL search, now again, you don't need to know how to write SQL. We made this super simple as well. Of course, if you know how to write SQL, you could provide your own SQL query just like that if you're into coding SQL. But you don't have to do that. You can go ahead and say, I want to select maybe a contact. I want to select an account. I want to see if the ID equals, say, this value, which is the value I just got back. I'll go ahead and test that request to see if that's going to work properly. And there it is, Mr. Malcolm Ross, 123 Main Street in the Allen Islands was created successfully inside of there. And again, it's going to make it really easy to query things on those specific elements. Like if I want to query like by last name, first name, salutation, I can very easily select the individual operator, get those specific values just like this to make that a much more intuitive experience for querying the Salesforce environment as well. So really hope if you're integrating to Salesforce, this is really the new best way to integrate to Salesforce. Dare I say, from an API level integration, I think it's a better integration than even most Salesforce have with themselves as far as API level integration between these systems. So going on with integration theme though, we also had other key enhancements. The first of which is pulling documents into Appian using Binary and Base64. So Appian will now automatically detect if the response is going to return a binary Base64 document, even if it's nested inside of a JSON element, and then allow you to save the document as a Appian document object. So a lot of you have been waiting for this. So again, I can response the body parsing, so I'll convert binary to Appian document just like this. I can say give the document a name. Each of these fields is also expressionable, and then define the folder for which I want to save it inside of. So here I'm going to define that inside my AW19 folder, but again, everything's expressionable inside of here. So again, now you can have the full sending documents and receiving documents all from the integration designer and do cool design patterns like initiating downloads from an interface, automatically download content using the interface interactions rather than a process model. You can now also configure integration timeout. So every single integration design object now also has the timeout control. If you leave it blank, the integration will run indefinitely until a response is returned. It will protect the whole system, though, from slow integrations if you define the timeout. So encourage you, if you're using a lot of integrations, set that timeout threshold to what you think is a reasonable value to automatically terminate that integration so it doesn't remain open, waiting for a response back from the target system. And also, we've also added fewer syntax errors while editing expressions by now allowing an extra comma after the last parameter of a function is ignored. This is one of those ones that I was super excited about because this is what something I'm guilty of very commonly. Like when I remove a function, or you just get in the habit all the time of when you define a parameter, always adding a comma at the end, even if it's the last parameter. Now, if it is the last parameter and you add that comma, we will not automatically generate error. We'll just ignore those commas. And this is going to apply in the expression editor, interface designer, anywhere we define expressions. We're going to ignore those trailing commas to not generate those errors inside the expression logic. Now, some other exciting features to announce is with our Appian Ai capabilities. As you know, last year Appian introduced not only a native sentiment analysis capability, but also package integrations to AWS and Google AI services. Those services, though, required our customers to contract with Google or AWS separately in order to take advantage of those. Now we're going to be bundling Google AI services with the Appian platform so that you have automatic market-leading AI capabilities with Appian out of the box. The first of which is Google Translate, allows you to automatically translate, I believe, over 100 different languages between two language formats. In the free standard tier that you get with Appian AI, we're going to allow for 1 million characters per month. So this is double what you get from Google for free out of the box by using Google Translate with Appian instead. In addition, we're also going to give you Google Natural Language Processing. This is going to be 10,000 calls per month. So Google Natural Language Processing does a wide variety of entity analysis of text strings, sentiment analysis, great features to add to customer communications. Again, 10,000 calls per month, which is 10 times what you get from Google in their free tier as well. And then Google Vision OCR, which is going to allow for up to 10,000 records per month. Now, records, not to be confused with an Appian record. A record in Google Vision OCR is a transaction with up to 1,000 characters. So for example, if I have a PDF document I want to do OCR on, I can apply that, let's say the PDF document has 2,000 characters in it. That's going to be 2 records, counting towards your 10,000 records per month. Again, that is double what you get from Google out of the box with Google Vision OCR. So if you would like to take advantage of the free AI services, it does require you to sign an additional contract to get the API key. So what's going to happen is when you sign that additional contract, reach out to support@appian.com or reach out to your account executive to guide you through this. Once you get the API key, you'll get access to all these services from the connected systems in the Appian system or from the app market where appropriate. And of course, it's going to give you that free standard tier. It's going to cap and stop transacting after you hit these limits. Now, if you need to go beyond these standard tiers, we're also introducing enterprise tiers, both at level 1 and level 2. Google Translate provides 10 million characters per month or 20 million characters per month on level 1 or level 2. Natural language processing gives 100,000 to 600,000 records per month for level 1, level 2. And then, of course, Vision OCR provides 300,000 and 600,000 calls per month. Again, records per month as well on the Vision OCR as well. Now, to talk a little bit more about this, the Google Vision OCR does require also Google Storage, which you'll also get API keys for when you sign up for the free AI service, as well as the enterprise tier. The Google Storage capability is only used as a temporary store before Google Vision processes it. So documents are loaded inside Google Storage and then cleared once it's been processed by Google Vision OCR. Now, obviously, this means that when you're starting to take advantage of Google AI services, what about the security? I'm going to be integrating these other AI services, passing maybe customer communications or documents to these other AI services. How can I trust those sources? So Appian's also available to help you set up that properly and encourage you to look at cloud.google.com, security/compliance. You'll find that Google has leading security credentials, ISO 27001, SOC 2, SOC 3, FedRAMP 2, HIPAA, We did a very detailed security audit or review of their compliance before suggesting this to our customers. We're confident with it, but it does require, of course, the data to be flowing into these AI services and out of that to get that information back. So again, which is also why we have an additional contract on top of this. So if you'd like to take advantage of these as well, some of these, such as Google Storage, Translate, Document OCR, are available for download from the Appian App Market. When you sign that additional contract, we will issue the API keys directly, not Google. That gives you that free tier, which is 2 times and 10 times what you get from Google's free tier. And finally, in regards to integration, inbound API key authentication for web APIs. This allows you to create API keys to web API authentication. APIs can be used for basic auth, bearer token, or custom HTTP headers. So to access this, you go to the admin console in Appian. You'll see under the authentication area a new APIs key configuration. You choose to create a new API key based on a service account. Now, for those of you who know, service account, wait, that's a new thing as well. Yes, in Appian 19.2, you officially have service account definitions. When I define service accounts and use API key authentication, I no longer need to worry about expiring passwords, because the API key authentication will bypass the password expiration or PCI password management features of those other service accounts. Which takes me to the administrative features of Appian, and the first of which is service accounts. So how do I create service accounts? So inside the objects view of the Appian system, if you look for the group structure called service accounts, you can add members inside of here to be members of the service accounts environment. Only service accounts members can be used for API key authentication for web APIs. So that's an important thing to know, is that if I want to use API key authentication, you first create a service account. I register the service account inside the group called service accounts, and then you can go to the API key and look for those users. It'll filter just the users of that specific group inside the environment. And again, API key authentication allow you to bypass the password management features that you might have configured. Also in the admin area, we also are happy to introduce Appian's own ISO 27001 certification for handling information security. HITRUST CSF certified, which is a leading healthcare certification of handling client data, and also DoD Impact Level 4 security certification. Now, the last one is in partnership with a company called Smartronix. Smartronix is the security cleared hoster for Department of Defense content. If you would like to take advantage of this, you will be technically hosted via Smartronix, but it's all compliant with the Appian Managed Cloud service. So it works just like a regular Appian Managed Cloud service, but as part of the Smartronix hosted US DoD Impact Level 4 hosting arrangement, you also have the additional option to host on either Azure or AWS, which is actually the first Appian Cloud, Appian Managed Cloud service that offers that additional Azure service, which is really happy to get that out to market. Also in the admin area, Data Server is now available for high availability. So Data Server now supports a high availability configuration. As a reminder, Data Server is currently used for tracking of design objects added to application patches. So that simply means that when I have a high availability configuration, that we will replicate patch information across all systems. So in the case of a full outage, you'll see that those patches are still persisted. So relatively minor feature, but we have big plans for Appian Data Server in future releases. Appian Data Server similarly has additional read scaling. So Appian Data Server now runs 2 real-time data stores that service queries. Reads to the data server, process in parallel, and enable queries to be serviced at higher throughput. Again, this only applies now to application patches, but stay tuned. Later releases, we have big plans for what we're going to use for Appian Data Server. Also, we're happy to announce a new pre-release testing program. This is to allow Appian to securely clone your system to run automated platform level tests. Appian runs these platform tests and automated unit tests only. This does not apply to functional testing, and it's an opt-in program. So what this means is that essentially that we allow you to opt in to allow Appian to clone your system. When we clone your system, we securely clone it, have zero access to the data inside the environment, but we can run platform level tests on the system to make sure that as we do weekly updates to the Appian development cycles before we get to a GA release, we can validate our implementation against your production level system. This is just going to give you greater confidence that when we get to our GA releases, like the 19.3 and 19.4 release, that your specific application platform has been tested on these latest release capabilities. This does not include your functional tests. It does not test the functional behavior of your application. It tests the platform only, nor do you get the test results. So this is really for Appian engineering to make sure that we have a higher quality platform with each release. So you're volunteering your own clones of your systems. This could be a dev, test, or production environment that it's going to give you that guarantee that, hey, we have tests against your specific environment for greater confidence of a better quality platform when it hits GA. Does not replace functional testing of your application. This is an opt-in. You can express interest at support@appian.com. In addition, we also have certificate-based authentication for VPN tunnels. So if you're using Appian Cloud, we now like to have certificate-based authentication for additional level of encryption instead of pre-shared keys. So this is a greater level of managing encryption between the two systems of Appian Cloud and your on-premise environments. And also, we recognize that many of our customers have been adopting AWS to host other applications on your environment. So it doesn't make sense that when we have Appian hosted in AWS, as well as your own systems hosted in AWS, that we maybe have a VPN tunnel back to your through your firewalls, then back to the same AWS environment. Now we can securely connect to your AWS virtual private clouds to Appian Cloud. This is a highly available, scalable connection that never leaves the AWS data center. So network traffic stays within AWS, means it's going to be super fast and a much better way to connect your infrastructure in AWS with the Appian Cloud. Finally, let's talk about the developer features. And first, I'd like to really thank all the developers who participated in the Integration SDK beta starting 18.4, and of course, released a number of Integration SDK components over the past quarter. And what I'd like to call out is the 16 new component UI plugins made available inside the Appian app market, highlighting also some of the winners like the Appsino one on report charting from Google Charts. So these 16 new UI components allow you to do detailed mapping using Google Maps or OSM Maps, report charting using Power BI or Google Charts, real-time communications using Timesys or Twilio, events engines using PubNub or Event Pusher, media players for real-time media players of like advanced audio playback, as well as advanced video playback and real-time speech to text, and timer controls as well. In addition, we've also introduced 20 new connected system integration plugins. These were introduced as map geolocation capabilities, event engines, robotic process automation for automation anywhere and UiPath, AI services, ticket management integration to Jira, address validation via USPS, data warehouse capabilities, and cloud content storage. I'd like to really also thank the contributors, specifically Appsino, one of our partners, Vuram, Vision Point Systems. A number of those key partners were critical in making sure that we have this rich library of integration SDK components available to you. So enough talking about though, let's actually see some of these. I was really excited about a lot of these when I saw them come out. And what I did is I started using them right away. So in building some demo examples. So for example, one of the ones, I'm going to go to some interfaces here. One of the ones I thought was very cool is like the advanced video player by Vision Point Systems. So this one is really great for if I need to build a learning management system. So learning management system, of course, allows me to control the video playback. So the default video player really was not adequate. So instead of the default video player, here I'm going to just play this video in the behind the scenes. I get really granular controls on how I want that video interaction to occur with the user. So for example, you can see I don't have a progress bar right now. I can't fast forward or stop, but I can turn on the progress bar just like this and configure that. And now I have a progress bar allowing me to say fast forward through the video or go backwards through the video just like this. And if you're not familiar with this video, this is the open source Big Buck Bunny video, which is kind of the default test video that everyone uses for testing video embedding. So anyways, a nice feature of Learning Management System though is I don't want people to be able to skip forward or fast forward. So I can go ahead and say, well, I'm going to allow them to have the progress bar to see how far they are, but I'm going to disable fast forward just like this. So now if I choose to fast forward, nope, I can't just, I have to watch all the content, make sure I actually watch it all. As well, I can also disable reverse if I so choose. So they can see how far they are, but they can't go backwards and forwards inside the video. Now, as well, if the user chooses to stop the video, resume the video, you see every single time I pause and start the video, it's going to record the on-play, on-pause time. So this is a great feature to know the video interaction, how often they stepped away from the video, pause it, which areas people are commonly pausing on. It's a great, again, platform for building an LMS type solution on Appian. Another great example is, I think, from Appsino on the speech to text. I thought this one was really cool. It implements a web speech to text function. So all you have to do is embed that speech text component. Again, you can see all these in the Interface Designer. Down here, custom components. See the advanced video player. Here I have pretty much all of them loaded. And here I have that web speech to text one I dragged right there. Now all I do is have the user click that button, and this is going to automatically record the speech time to text. You can see when I started it, it recorded the exact time of when I started the audio capture. It's going to perform a real-time speech. Every few seconds, it's going to update that first text box, and when I hit end, it's going to end the capture and record all the content I just said into a speech-to-text diagram. Let's go ahead and hit stop, and there it is. There's everything I just said. You can see it's maybe my slur here, Xbox, right there. Not necessarily accurate, but it's looking pretty good as far as real-time speech-to-text. So go ahead and look at a few other examples here, like Google Maps. This is actually a contribution from the Appian product strategy team under my group. And this, of course, gives you nice detailed mapping controls. So if I want to see Reston, Virginia, where I am right now, I can just say, make that my center point, zoom in at level 8 all the way in. Maybe let's go all the way down to 10, Reston, Virginia. And I want to enable Street View, so I'm going to enable that. So you can control exactly which features of Google Maps you want to use, and then very easily overlay that. And hey, it looks right in the middle of Reston Town Center. There we are. And that's just about 2 blocks or so where I'm at right now. So very cool feature, and of course it's going to give me feedback of exactly the location I'm at right now, so I can see nice interactivity with the overall sail interface. So again, there's probably too many to talk about. Probably the last one is the one that was the Appian App Market Award winner, which was the Google Charts from Appsino. I have this one example of a Gantt chart view. And of course, if I select individual Gantt chart elements, I can have it interact with the overall UI, updating individual interfaces. It's a great way to show rich, kind of detailed information of what's going on inside of a Gantt chart of a project plan like this, like a home construction project. And of course, Appsino didn't just do a Gantt chart, but they did a whole variety of other custom components from Google Charts, such as bubble charts, calendar, candlestick, combo, Gantt, Sankey, timeline, tree map, and word tree. So, and of course, pie chart as well. So great contribution from them. And of course, I'd like to thank everyone again for contributed to this. And finally, of course, I want to talk about the connected systems. Probably the two to highlight the most here is the connected systems from UiPath as well as from Automation Anywhere. Now, these were done from my product strategy team, and I think we really did a great quality job on these. Specifically, I look at like that UiPath integration here. Here we have that new UiPath integration. I have the specific port and the URL I want to connect to. I can go ahead and test that connection to make sure my UiPath server is up. Hit Use New Integration. I want to maybe run a bot, so like start job UI, UIP. Like this, and see that in my Appian World examples. And again, the goal for every connected system is no code, no referring to the API documentation. Everything the user needs to do to connect should be very intuitive. So here I just choose the operation I want to perform. Next, we automatically discover all the UiPath environments. So I'll choose this next one, say app dev. As I choose the app dev, it'll automatically discover all the UiPath processes on that environment. So here's an Appian UiPath app dev one. And I can see all the input parameters required for this, like the count, name, time to send, and the strategy. So specific, I want the specific strategy inside of here. Again, this is some of the nomenclature unique to UiPath, and then which robot I actually want to execute inside of there. But again, I didn't need to refer to the documentation of UiPath at all. It's very intuitively laid out to flow naturally to easily connect to that UiPath environment and go ahead and trigger that robot just like this. And there it goes. So again, check out the Appian App Market. It's the best way to explore all those contributions. Next, we have a few updates to the Intelligent Contact Center, the first of which is our Twilio component. This is an enhanced voice call routing with Twilio. Specifically, the Twilio component now includes a transfer to a named agent capability. So as I'm handling a voice telephony call, I can say I need to transfer this call to a specific named agent. go ahead and type in the person's name and directly route it to them. Now, before I route it, I also have a consult transfer capability. So I can choose that consult capability. I can talk to that agent I'm about to route to before I actually transfer that customer call to that new agent. And then finally, a click to answer. The click to answer is going to make sure that the agent can say acknowledge when they're ready to take that call rather than auto sending the call directly to the agent and starting the call automatically. Now, more excitingly with the Twilio integration is that Appian now bundles Twilio with the platform in a single contract. This is similar to our Blue Prism relationship. The Appian now can provide a single contract for Appian and Twilio telephony and messaging services. This bundling, of course, Appian provides first-level support for all the Twilio integrations, as well as provide US and Canada calling and messaging with a separate contracting for international rates. So if you're interested in integrating telephony, call services, and messaging services into your applications and the Intelligent Contact Center, I encourage you to reach out to your Appian account executive. We can add Twilio calling capabilities in a single contract with Appian to your overall Appian portfolio. And of course, we also are enhancing our Genesis Pure Engage voice control component. Specifically, what we added to the Genesis component that we introduced in 19.1 is to add Genesis voice transfer. So now I can, just like Twilio, transfer to another agent while I'm handling that individual call. And finally, a few acknowledgments for the community and application marketplace. Specifically, first, the Robotic Workforce Manager solution. Now, we knew we wouldn't have enough time to talk about this in detail. There's a lot of interest in this. I'll simply say that if you are using Blue Prism, you really should look at the Robotic Workforce Manager solution. It is an ideal solution for getting a greater control of your robots, understanding the deployment lifecycle of those robots, managing a process for the deployment lifecycle, having a control center to do detailed scheduling, control of those robots, and measuring the effectiveness and value those robots are generating, as well as human-in-the-loop exception processing. So when the robot fails, easily kick that into a human interaction to handle that exception and keep those processes flowing. So this is going to give you metrics such as the total resources, sessions, total work times, completed times, detailed analytics of how effectively you're using your robotic workforce investments with Blue Prism and, of course, Appian as well. So we will probably have another session on this in the summer time frame, giving you more details of especially this specific solution as well. But we introduced this just 2 weeks ago at Appian World. But I'd also like to acknowledge the Appian App Market Award winners that won awards at Appian World most recently, specifically the first of which is, again, the Appsino CRM on Appian. So this is a complete deployment-ready CRM solution, providing marketing, field service, customer service 360, configure price quotes, and sales operation management. Really is quite a comprehensive solution, and we applaud Appsino for delivering a very complete CRM approach to the on the Appian platform. So Appsino CRM Customer Service 360 module is a part of Appsino CRM suite, helps organizations provide first-class customer experience and quickly interacting with cases for those customer interactions. Also, another suite winner was KPMG's Privacy Apps. These are really two comprehensive solutions. This provides a complete view of GDPR compliance with confidence. Now, there's 5 modules as part of this. There's a data subject rights module, privacy impact assessment, Article 30 inventory, personal data breach, and privacy help desk. Again, you could read more about all these on the Appian Application Marketplace by filtering by KPMG as the author. The data subject rights one specifically app is part of Appian's KPMG Privacy App Suite that gives you the ability to meet privacy requirements in a way that's automated, integrated, scalable, and robust. The application covers the processing of data subject rights within the GDPR regulation, from initial capture to redaction and closure. Now, for the individual accelerator wins, the Home Health Manager at Bits and Glass really stood out. This provides a real-time schedule management and home health visit capabilities for healthcare at-home healthcare services. It allows you to match the right nurse to the right patient at the right time. So BIG, or Bits and Glass's Home Health Manager, provides real-time schedule management, as mentioned before, with home health visit capabilities. The application is easily configurable and can be expanded to accommodate patient and care team scheduling, along with any home health services provided to your patients. It provides transparency and traceability necessary for supporting high-quality care for home health patients. And then finally, I'd like to also acknowledge this Vuram contribution for credit card dispute management system. handles the entire dispute lifecycle management for credit card disputes, from audit trail for each activity on each transaction, assignment on each transaction to a compliance team for special investigation, and generate of a settlement report. Dispute and chargeback processing is a labor-intensive and costly process for financial services institutions. With this application, a faster card dispute card resolution can be achieved, which can lead to increased profitability on the card portfolio of banks. It also helps to minimize human error and mismanagement and therefore reduce the customer attrition rates. So thank you all for those Appian App Market submissions. I encourage your customers, if you have specific needs for these areas, check out those solutions on the Appian App Market. I'd like to thank again everyone for attending this Appian 19.2 product webinar. Again, if you have any additional questions, feel free to post those on community.appian.com. And of course, look forward to also seeing everyone March 8th and March 11th at the Diplomat Beach Resort, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. As a reminder as well, if you'd like to share your story and best practices of using the Appian platform, we do on appianworld.com have that option for call to speakers right now to go ahead and register your name as an opportunity to present at Appian World in 2020. Thanks, everyone, and look forward to seeing you at the 19.3 product webinar.